Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Austin, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am here again in 2019 with such amazing individuals on here, one of which is one of the women fire chiefs that's happening out there in Canada, all the way from Canada, just doing her thing. And I'm excited to also feature her in the BMWC April edition of the magazine. So make sure you tune in at bmwc.com and check out the magazine along with all of our participants that we're going to be having this year. Make sure you like, save, and vote for your favorite. We have 7 awards up for grabs. If you like any of the interviews, make sure you share, like, and vote to keep them in the running, because at the end of the season, we will be awarding 7 awards to 7 deserving individuals that is going to be here on the podcast today. Just in case you did not know what the purpose of the BMWC is, we are here to unify people from around the world to share their industry information and to encourage you, the working professionals, speakers, authors, students, whoever you are, into learning what is going on in the industries today so that you can decide what you would like to do in your future. So make sure that you check out all the pages and listen to all the podcasts that we have this year, because it's a lot of information. So before we get into our interview today, because I'm really excited to be interviewing her, we would like to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors, who are My Financial Home, Evangelism Radio, J&F Enterprises, Sears Consulting, Autism Families Rock, Awakening to Love, Eli Natoli, Kimberly McLemore, True Synergy, and Platinum Financial Services, along with our other BMWC participants who are helping to make this season a huge, huge success. So as we talked about at the top of the hour, we're going to be going all the way to Surrey, BC, Canada, talking to Shelly Morris, who is the Assistant Fire Chief there in Surrey, BC, Canada, serving over 500,000 residents, 15 fire halls, and over 400 firefighters. Her responsibilities are emergency planning for the entire municipality, as well as the community engagement and diversity in recruitment. Through her community engagement with the fire service, she also works with her fellow firefighters and volunteers from all areas of the community who want to give back and provide a capacity of resilience when faced with adverse conditions. So I'm going to have you guys read the rest of her bio, because she has so many dynamic things, and we're going to get right into the interview today. Hey, Chief Shelly, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good, good. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. So why don't you start with an introduction and some of the things that you got into as you was growing up?
Well, I'm in the Surrey Fire Services, and I've been here for about 22 years. I joined it when I was 26, turning 27, but I came from a small town up north, in a small rural town where I actually didn't think there was a lot of opportunities. I definitely wasn't thinking that the fire service was in my horizon at all. But I came to the city here in, people might know Vancouver, BC, and I came here on a track and field and a volleyball scholarship. So as I was getting through a degree and competing for my school, I started learning about the different opportunities and actually meeting people that were within the fire service. And that's one of the things that I've noticed, especially with women in this industry, is that they generally know somebody that's actually prodded them along in this career, because it doesn't just, it's not a natural thought process that's something that we're going to do within our lives. And I hope definitely that changes in the future. But that's what started me on this path, and I'm going to tell you, I haven't looked back. It's been a fantastic 22 years as I transitioned from a firefighter to a captain, and now the last 2 years I've been a chief.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you. Definitely love hearing stuff like that. And so I want to kind of take a step back. So you were saying that you were in your volleyball career, and so you were kind of introduced to the fire service. So what was that thing that kind of switched your gears? What was that thing that switched you from thinking about volleyball and pursuing that as a career, and then kind of going into the fire service?
Well, one of the people that was also in the athletic program, he was actually in the Vancouver Fire Service, and which is our adjacent community, and he started talking to me. We were quite good friends, and he was talking to me about what he does and that I should apply, and that prompted me to actually respond. I didn't think they accepted women. And this, of course, was back in at that time it would have been 1994, where we thought we were so progressive. And he said, yes, absolutely, they want women to apply. Women just don't yet know that they can or that they should. At that point, there was also a lot of women's groups that were saying that they had set the standard too high and women couldn't possibly pass the physical. So at that point, they had put together a group of us to see if we could pass it. And because I was very physically oriented, I was in the gym all the time and in the weight room, I enjoyed the challenge. And I thought, well, this seems like a very dynamic career with my talks with him. You're helping people, you're saving lives. And I guess what I dreaded most in life, and this is for me personally, is that I just didn't want to push paper, go away on a vacation, come back and realize that nothing really happened while I was gone, nor did I really need to be there for it to continue. I wanted to feel the value, and within me, the value actually happened with me going out and helping to put out a fire or do CPR and do all those first responder things that I didn't know were available. So when he described that type of job, it absolutely resonated with me immediately. So I felt like if I went to do this physical and I could pass it in this trial run, then I would know I could have a shot at a career that I absolutely sounded right up my alley and fantastic. And that's how I started.
Wow. I think that you were lucky into having someone talk to you about the benefits and some of the opportunities. I think as I think about the other podcast participants who are also women fire chiefs, they didn't have it as easy in terms of getting in initially. So what was your experience, once you passed the physical and you're on your way, what was your experience being a female in this position?
Once I passed, and I was going through my training program, I definitely felt the pressures of succeeding. I knew that people were watching me. I knew that I was being judged because there was only 2 women that had gone before me in our department, and they were doing a fantastic job and they were successful. But there was always that question: was it a one-off? Was it just them? Would I be able to do it? So I was watched. I knew I was watched, but I was making great friendships, and I had a lot of support through that process. I got hired with about 12 other individuals that I became friends with, and they became my supporters. Once I got hired, I quickly was able to make friends, and there's a lot of sporting activities you can do outside of the job, but it's with your crew. A lot of opportunities to play hockey and baseball, and I would always go out to those, and there's a charity event. So once they saw me really sort of involving myself in all aspects of the job, both on and off, I found my path to be easier, I think. I didn't find any barriers. The barriers that I did come up against were barriers that everybody came up against. And that's what I quickly realized. And then I was able to let that stuff go and realize that just to take things as it came, accept that there's people out there that won't accept anybody at all, no matter who you are, and just win people over as friends and get involved and sort of enjoy my career. And that's how I've gone with, and that's what I tell people when they're thinking about starting out. I tell them, just get involved, do as much as you can on and off, because you will reap the rewards as well as your department.
Okay. So if you were speaking to young women today about joining the fire service, what would be 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you would give them to encourage them the same way that you were encouraged?
I would tell them, if they were starting out, if they were looking at this career, I'd say first find out as much as you can about it. There's very many different facets of what we do, and if you look into it all and you're very interested in this career, then make yourself a good candidate. You can do that. There's training out there. There's ways that you can make things easier on yourself. There's the physical training, not only that, but also the mechanical aptitude. There's books that you can look into, but you can make yourself a good candidate, and you need to start off that way, because people remember you when you try, 3, 4, 5 times and you're unsuccessful, and eventually you are. Go in there and make yourself successful as you possibly can right off the bat. Don't just try it, go for it. And then after that, like I said, get involved. If when you're in, get involved in everything, because that becomes your support system when you get involved in all the charity work and the camaraderie of the off-duty participation, and then the training on duty. When you involve yourself in all those different facets, you have a wonderful support network, because we know it can be difficult, not only physically but mentally. But when you have that support system around you, you can absolutely have a successful and a wonderful career.
Okay. And so how do you or maybe would advise any firefighter, whether they women or men, on how to, cope with fire situations or, times, because obviously, you guys are firefighters and you risk your life, and thank you guys for risking your lives just to save others. But just getting to the reality of it also, what are some of the coping mechanisms that people can, put in place if they decide to go into firefighting that they may want to consider?
Well, you definitely want to be open and have people that you can talk to, whether it be your own crew members or your family members. You can sometimes, at times, burden people that are not in the industry with the things that you do go through, but you do need many mechanisms in place. Physical activity. We have wonderful peer diffusing programs that are very advanced compared to what they have been, and we're continuing to put mental resiliency on the forefront of our training at this time. We understand that that's a huge aspect to a successful career, but understanding what your normal day-to-day sleep patterns, eating patterns, physical activity, and understanding when those patterns change, something's changing within you, and that you know that you need to seek help. So it's finding that help when you recognize the changes that are going on, not only within yourself, but your friends. You want to look around and see the people around you that you're making connections, and you want to support them as well, and they'll turn around and do the same for you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for those answers. So let's talk about some of the things that you do as a fire chief and some of the responsibility that you have. You have over 500,000 residents in 15 fire halls and 400 firefighters. How do you manage it all being the chief of the firehouse?
Well, we're definitely delegated into our areas of responsibility. So with mine being an emergency planning and community engagement actually is a fairly recent addition to our profiles here. And it's been a wonderful addition because it's a chance for people within the community, anybody, to volunteer for the fire services rather than just be an actual paid-on-call volunteer firefighter trying to get hired. So if you're interested in risk reduction in the community and helping the community and saving lives, a lot of the programs that we do save lives, like our smoke alarm campaign. I'm very passionate about those things, and I have so many different people in the community who have no desire to be a firefighter, but they love that opportunity that they're making a difference. And I get to work with those people and going through the community, and we do it in a very targeted way. So we find out the people that we think are most at risk for A, having a fire, or B, dying in a fire if they don't have a smoke alarm. And these individuals actually go door to door to these addresses. They knock on the door and they tell them about smoke alarms. And if the person does not have one, we will give a free one to them and then install it. So having that opportunity to sort of make a difference and work with these people that want to help the community and they're passionate about it as well is
Mhm.
unbelievable. It's my favorite part of what I do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Um,
what was your favorite part,
yeah,
but it sounds like
that's
I can hear the passion in your voice
yeah.
about that because, safety is everything, I think. But,
Oh yeah.
looking at you, the woman outside of firefighting, what do you like to do outside of firefighting as some of the things that you like to enjoy as well?
Off the job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I play hockey. I play hockey on
Oh.
which yeah, I'm Canadian. On a women's hockey team, and we play all year round. And we just actually did a wonderful trip to New Orleans with my hockey group, and I have wonderful friends that we do lots of outings and trips with, and I golf a little bit, not as much as I'd like because of my 9 to 5 Monday to Friday now, but it's something I'm going to take back up in the
Mm-hmm.
future. I've got two teenage kids. I was going to say young kids, but they're now 14 and almost 16. So almost all of my spare time is watching them play their sports and taking them to their activities and supporting them. And my husband is a coach on their team, and I manage their team. So that takes up quite a bit of our time, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Wow, I think first of all that's exciting because I have yet to hear someone say that they also do golf, women golf. So,
Mm,
I just think that's exciting. And I want to encourage us to kind of get out there on the golf field because I don't hear much of that in terms of, recreation or women in sports in terms of golf. I know they're out there, but however, I want to encourage people to take on, if even you do a putt putt, right? Because I'm a putt putter, right? I'll go and do a
yeah.
little putt, but I kind of need to get on the green and actually learn how to do like real golf.
Yep. It's fun.
Absolutely.
It's frustrating but fun.
Okay. So outside of that, what has been some of the impacts that you've been able, or maybe the accomplishments that you've been able to do since being fire chief and being promoted recently, as you said earlier? But I just kind of want people to hear like some of the other really exciting things that you have been able to do in your community, in addition to fire and training and things like that.
Well, with the Home Safe program, which is a smoke alarm campaign, we actually just looked at our numbers and we've decreased our fires within the community just by going door to door. Because when you talk about smoke alarms, you actually up the awareness in the community, and we have a big problem with cooking being an ignition source. So we've actually driven down our fires, even though our residents, we're actually the fastest growing community within BC and actually one of the fastest growing within Canada. So we'll be the most populated city in the next 15 years. So as our population expands rapidly, we're actually in our housing is going through the roof. Our fires are going down, and that's in big part to the smoke alarm campaign. And our death and injuries are down. And we actually, when we have a fire, we look to see whether there was a working smoke alarm. We used to have lots of smoke alarms present but not working because they were battery and people would take them out and put them in their remote controls, or they would go off. There'd be nuisance
Mm,
alarms for them. But now with this educational campaign, we're finding that more of our fires have working smoke alarms. And actually the other day
mm,
on the weekend, I was at home and I get an alert that there was a fire, and in the briefing it actually said that the woman was alerted by her smoke alarm and got out alive. And I just felt like that
mhm,
stab of pride that, maybe in some small way, was this campaign that we do, did
mhm,
it help? Like, did it save her? And I like to think
mhm,
it did, because that's why we're doing it. Um,
mhm,
but we also do a lot of emergency preparedness and planning. So we're going through the whole community and trying to get people interested in being prepared, because a lot of people actually don't
mhm,
realize that when something big happens, whether it be a tornado, an earthquake,
mhm.
or anything, that all resources are completely overwhelmed and you need to be self-sufficient. So that one's harder to actually measure because, touch wood, it hasn't happened here yet. But it's up to us to make sure that everybody knows
Mhm.
that when the time comes. So we're
Yeah.
working very hard with staff to spread the word and build our resources within our community.
Okay. So speaking of that, do you have any upcoming campaigns in the next few months that you want people who's listening to your interview right now to be aware of in your
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, we have our a neighborhood emergency preparedness, and we do that by we get people to email at Surrey Emergency Program at surrey.ca, and they email those requests in, and we will come into their community. We set up booths. We're having Party for the Planet, so Fusion Festival, any festival that comes up, we set up a booth, and we're like, here we are. We do personal emergency preparedness.
Mhm.
If you want us to come in and do a presentation, we'll do it. So it's by request. Those home
Mhm.
safe visits, like if there's people in the community that are interested in their own fire risk, they're concerned, we will send a fire crew to their house if they request
Oh,
it. So
nice.
all that stuff is available by request, and our fire crews will actually install a free smoke alarm as well. And not a lot of communities do that, but we are actually so passionate about it that we will incur that cost to make sure that people are safe. So a lot of these events, they're scheduled. We're going to the food bank. We have a tax lineup coming up, and we're going to be there, and we're going to talk about all the things that we do. And we're going to say, if you request us to give a presentation, we'll give it. But a lot of it is done by request as well.
Okay, and so give them your website and that email address. I believe you give them that email address again so that people can catch that.
Yeah, it's Surrey, so that's Surrey, emergency program at surrey.ca. And if they just email that request for either a home safe visit, and that's to take a look around your house and make sure that your electrical cords aren't there's not too many things plugged in, talk to you about cooking safety, open flame use, that kind of thing. Also, check your smoke alarms. We'll have a fire crew do it for free, and also do a free install if necessary, and any emergency preparedness presentation. So how do you come together as an individual to protect your family, and also as a neighborhood? How do you provide resilience within your neighborhood? What skills can you bring together so that as a neighborhood you guys will be safe for the amount of time it would take for actual responders to come and check on you? And that could be anywhere from 72 hours to 2 weeks. A lot of stuff out there is saying 72 hours, but we've had a couple of conferences lately, and we're all coming together with an agreement that it could be a heck of a lot longer than those 72 hours, and I just don't think people realize that. So we'll come and give those presentations and help you be prepared.
I like the fact that you are really speaking to the community right now. Just having them come together and recognize what they could do to just prevent something that, as easy as a fire that can start, because just as easy it can start, it can actually end. And I like the fact that you are promoting that. And I want to, encourage you and your firehouse and all your fellow firefighters to keep talking about the word of prevention and fire alarm and emergency preparedness and all of that. And so I have one more question for you for your interview is, what do you need personally and professionally to keep doing what you're doing? What do you need?
I think that ongoing networking, because I think that's one of the biggest things that builds your educational base and how you can actually get better in what you do. You got to listen to what's going on out there. You got to network with other people, municipalities, find out how they're doing well in the areas that they're working on. I mean, the opioid crisis is something we're all dealing with, and as a fire department, we're actually tackling it. Other areas are doing it as well. So if we listen to them, we find out how we can do better in our community, and then we take the tools at hand and we try and customize it to fit our community. That's how we do better. So we keep our ear to the ground, we listen to everybody, and then we try to implement that in the best way that we can, and then we measure our results. Am I doing well? Is it working for us? Is it not? Then I don't want to waste those resources. I want to move on and find out how can I do better in that way. And the only way I'm going to do that is to listen to other people, I think.
Yeah, fabulous, fantastic. Well, Shelly, I'm gonna tell you, I feel safe already. I'm telling you, I feel safe already because you gave me every reason in the world to make sure that I spread the word. I spread the word to the community about safety as well as myself and my family, because a lot of times we get so busy. We really do. We get busy. We don't think about the smoke alarms or the anything that could help us prevent a fire or any other type of emergency. We just go by our day to day and, we think everything is okay. But by having people like yourself and others who stand up and shout these words out to say, hey, you need to do safety, it just puts a reminder to me that I need to go home and check the smoke alarms. Now, I'm not one of the ones that take it out and put in my remote.
Oh, good.
But I do have some little minions around my house that will actually hit the little thing and the battery will pop out and will sit there and it don't go off. But I'm definitely going to be doing better because I hear exactly what you're saying, and I think a lot of us are going to hear it also. So if listen to Shelly, she's not playing around. She's done this. Okay. And so have the other 3 firefighters who we are featuring in the BMWC magazine. So happy to see some women firefighters. We don't hear about that often. And I want to encourage you, if you are female and you're thinking about going in the fire service, please check with Shelly, check with Tony Washington, check with the other fire chief we have on here, and anybody else that's in the EMS that's on this platform. Just click on their page, click on their email, send a message. It's not going to hurt anything to just ask a question. And also don't forget to like, share, and vote for your favorite podcast participant. And so with that, Shelly, I want to thank you for being on the podcast and sharing your amazing career with us.
Thank you. It was wonderful to be on the show.